So, the layout changed again. Yeah, you probably saw that coming. But to be fair, at least this time it has some actual technical application. And what it'll end up being is something I think has a good chance of being pretty damn cool. The last layout you're seeing here was done with Tomy and Trackmasters, and truth be told, those definitely are the engines that are safer on the ground, especially when my helpers want to, come and play trains. Models, however, that cost, a lot of money, So pretty much, again, I've started on a, home for them, and today I'll give you a walkthrough on what exactly that is and what it will end up being. Not just the location, let's be honest, duh, but also the lore and what all we're building in terms of the world itself, so yeah, let's just jump into it. So first things first, sadly, all this previous effort, get rid of it, it's gotta go. But to be fair, that's not something I'm too upset at. I do plan to do this a little bit better and a bit more detailed the next time around, so, it still sucks though, I agree. But don't worry, all of the materials I can reuse will not only be reused, but the new layout will be a bit more, uniform. This is pretty much just a elevated middle section, and it kind of looks like it. With any luck, the new one will be a bit more uniform and actually look like it's a hilly area, or maybe just the railway itself was carved out amongst a hilly area. And of course, we do some test running with the track to make sure everything's not only working okay, but, looks okay too. Here we see the beautiful 060 James I commissioned from Trainstorm, and also Rosie, who felt the need to come and make sure my track work was okay. And to be fair, thank God she did. There were a couple places that could have been better. She pointed them out. Up next was the process of refining that track plan. Basically just finding out if I wanted any sidings, where would those be, and kind of start to get an idea of where exactly I wanted those hills I was talking about earlier. We also start the process of making those pretty much immediately. Now, truth be told, it really doesn't matter what you use to make a mountain, at least on the interior, but whatever you do, make sure it's something light, because if this is ever something you want to move or take to a train show, if there's something too heavy under there, it's just going to make your life that much harder. So for now, you actually see me repurposing the inside of a HO scale train set. Or not the entire thing, it's basically that styrofoam insert where the engines and trucks are normally held. I don't use the entire thing, but using a small foam cutter, I start to get that initial ridge and the idea of what exactly that'll be. And boom, look at that. Just using some scrap, we now have the beginning to the ridge. It's definitely not done. This needs a lot more definition and overall length, but we'll get to that soon. Now I start with the smaller hills on the side of the track, and this process is very, very simple. Essentially, you just take some crumpled up newspaper, put it wherever you want, and then take some tape to secure it down. Now later on, we'll come back with some plaster and plaster cloth to make this an actual formation, but again, this is just to start the shape and get an idea of where everything will be. And this is a process I repeat everywhere. Just trust me, you'll see this quite a bit by the end of this video. Oh boy, and now we start the really, really fun part, power tools. And I'll go ahead and reveal what exactly you're looking at here, what this layout is. So essentially, this new layout will be a pretty detailed version of the pilot lead mine, the one Thomas fell into in Down the Mine. And to do that, in my mind, there's three things you need. One, a 00 scale, or whatever scale Thomas you're doing it in. Two is the mine, which we'll get on here in a second. And three, the area Thomas falls into. And, well, you can probably assume what those power tools are going to. First, I marked everything off, and then using an impact made 4 small holes that were then cut into with a saw. Yeah, sadly, this wasn't the cleanest job, as you'll soon see, but we do find a way to fix that. Now, really quick, I throw back on the track we're using for the layout and kind of mark off where the overhang is on the track I'm using in that siding. So it just so happens right now I have one Kato track end, and that'll go at the end of this area, which, won't even be reached by the engines, as you'll soon see in a second. And essentially off camera, I then use these marks to Dremel the track and bring it not only to size, but kind of detail it just a little bit. You know, this is a mine Thomas falls into. Might as well mangle the tracks, make it look like one, you know? Okay, and now with the incision made to the table, we'll again take some newspaper and some tape and kind of just start to fill that in. You know, give it some definition. Later, we'll come back and detail this a bit more, but just make it look like not a straight dip into the bottom of the table. You know, this is probably one of the best parts of working with project doors. The interior is hollow, so you can run wiring, extra stuff if you want, and kind of like I'm doing here, a mine that engines collapse into, just like this. And now we start that mine or very large hill structure. And to do this, I kind of use a different method. So I cut up some cardboard or just random boxes and then used the strips of that to kind of get an overall shape. There's sadly not much on the interior holding them up, so I will have to go back later, or I did go back later, and fill them in with some paper. I recommend doing that, you know, first thing just for reinforcement, but that's pretty much what we did. Then came back with some paper and tape and just, you know, kind of made some more definition. Just tried to smooth everything out. And that's pretty much where we're at now. That is the current state of the layout. I've just now started with the plaster, and, you know, to get around that, I tried a method from a friend. It was basically burlap covered in plaster, and I tried to make the mountain with that. Sadly, didn't work as great as I was hoping, and did not have enough burlap, as you can see here. But thank God, it's okay, it's okay. I do have some new plaster cloth on the way, and hopefully that will be enough to finish off the layout. So I'll be sure to update you guys pretty quickly on how that process goes and where this is all going. I think that's the next big step. Then we'll move on to texture and painting. Yeah, we're just turning this into the pilot lead mine. The pilot episode of Thomas, where, you know, that location, you know, where Thomas saw the sign but couldn't read for, you know, a split second and falls down a mine because of it, and Gordon comes into, you know what I'm talking about, and hopefully it'll be pretty cool. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. In terms of time, I do imagine this is much later, you know, after Thomas already fell into the mine and they just didn't fix it for some reason, or maybe it's just after and they're still working on, you know, that process of refilling it. But let's be honest, it doesn't really matter what engine's there. That would just be fun to see. It could be Thomas, Gordon, James, Percy. So what? You know, it'd just be cool to see them at the lead mines. Who doesn't know about the lead mines? If you're a Thomas fan, you better know the lead mines, let's be honest. You know, maybe it is modern day since I'm using a modern signaling. So what? You know, it's just a Kato thing. Get off my dick. I don't know. Either way, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated on, you know, when I get buildings and what exactly goes on with this thing. And hopefully you enjoyed this update that you probably saw coming, but hopefully didn't see coming in this, you know what I'm saying? Like, I knew you probably would see me redoing the layout at some point, but, you know, hopefully at least it was a surprise, and what we're doing is somewhat of a surprise. It's probably not now after the Bachman-Thomas review, but, you know, it's fine. These things happen. You know, shout out to my patrons. They're probably going to see that stuff early. You know, they've got some little lore drops with a Stone Limited, some stuff that's coming soon, but I won't talk too much about that now. Again, that's all stuff for later videos. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I guess with all that being said, I think I have gas.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.